What? Welcome. This is Black Sun Empire, podcast number 2. I'm sorry it took us a while, but we're back. We have a mean little mix of about half an hour for you guys, and afterwards we'll have a little interview with Telemetric. First tune, Isotone with Trip, forthcoming on Obsession.
Hypnotic state.
Next track in the mix, Diplodocus Bite and Noisia Voice from Groningen, forthcoming on Quarantine. Mitsubishi with Make It Go Away. Forthcoming on Hive's record label Violence. They're releasing a new album called Salvation, and this is one of the tracks. Hotness.
Coming up, tune we did with State of Mind, Animal, named after the Muppet drummer, because you gotta love the Muppet drummer. Should be out after the summer. On Black Sun Empire Recordings.
for those of you who didn't yet, we created a new mailing list. You can sign up for all Black Sun Empire related news on myspace.com/Black Sun Empire. Leave your email address and we'll keep you informed. You're able to win tickets to our events, download mixes, stuff like that. Misha and I just got our driver's license a couple of months back. If you have good tips about what car to get, please let us know because we have no clue.
settle this once and forever.
Chris Sue in tight jeans doing a double axel.
If you have any questions for us, please email them to info@blacksonempire.com and we'll try to answer them in the next podcast. Next track coming up, Gridlock with Avalon. Dudes on a roll. Gotta love those vocoder voices. Next track in the mix, brand new Black Sun Empire in ID. Work title is Milkshake. New levels.
Frank, als je luistert, jongen, deze is voor jou.
Together with Hidden, he forms the Outside Agency. They run a label called Genosha. So if you like it dark and nasty, go have a look on genosha.nl. By SKC. Awesome producer.
Yeah. All right. So, good morning, Horacio.
Hi, how's it going?
Very well, you?
Good, thanks for the interview.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Well, let's hope so. First of all, where are you from and what's your full name?
My full name is Marcio Alvarado, and Marcio Antonio Alvarado Jr.
Right.
And I'm from Washington D.C.
Yeah. So, musically, what's your sort of background? What do you remember listening to when you were younger?
Geez, I remember the first music that I was like super
going
into.
into drum and bass, you must have liked something else before.
Yeah. When I was a little kid, I really liked Michael Jackson.
Yeah, obviously.
I really liked Thriller, and I would like breakdancing for my parents' friends and stuff when they came over.
Yeah.
I think the first like really electronic stuff that I was into was probably Nine Inch Nails and like the Downward Spiral.
Yeah.
And the way that was produced, and I didn't really know anything about production then, but I just could tell that it was a lot different from any other thing I was listening to, just the way that it came out of the speakers.
Yeah.
Even on my boombox, it just sounded different than everything else.
Yeah. How big was any of that music in America? I mean, obviously drum and bass is very underground everywhere, but in America maybe more than anywhere else.
I think there was this time in America. There was like around between 96 and like 2000 probably, where like a lot of electronic music was really big, and the rave scene was really big here in DC. And like on MTV, there was a music video show called AMP, dedicated to music videos, and bands like the Chemical Brothers and the Crystal Method and like Prodigy and stuff were huge. Fatboy Slim and Moby and that stuff. And so,
so for electronic music, that was sort of very good years between 96
that was
and
like the highlight, right? So and there was a lot of parties in the city, and so as sort of a result of that, there was also this underground scene, which was pretty developed, and everybody knew what drum and bass was, because it was also really big everywhere. It was starting to get really big everywhere
at the same time.
Yeah, and there was a lot of shows and parties, and there was like a drum and bass show like every like three out of the 5 days that people would go out. You could always find something going on with drum and bass. Yeah, that's sort of what I grew up in.
So that's your exposure to drum and bass mainly.
Yeah.
What kind of drum and bass? What was the influential tracks that you heard and you thought, this is really something else?
Brown Paper Bag was like really influential.
Really?
The Ronnie Size track. And at that time we was buying records and stuff, so it like the older Bad Company stuff like the Nine and like Ed Rush and Optical, the Wormhole LP. That was huge. Digital Nation was huge. All of that was later, but obviously like Kamal and Raw Data, like just DC Synthetics, because that they were from DC and doing it sort of, all that stuff was sort of happening, between those years, and that sort of seeing Rob or Impulse and Rob F sort of do it and sort of know them, sort of really spurred me to think that it was actually possible to make like good tracks.
Yeah.
Because for a while none of the things I made were any good.
Well, I guess it's really important to have people in your surroundings who are doing the same thing, so you're not feeling like you're the only one who's doing it.
Totally. That, and it's just you learn techniques and just like, oh, this is how you do that, and I was sort of in a bubble really, because I was trying to do everything by myself and just had no idea how to do anything, and I'd read a lot.
Did you find that it took you longer to learn music production on your own? And would it have helped to have more people show you what to do?
Well, it's sort of like trying to get somewhere without GPS or something, like by yourself, versus like just asking somebody for directions.
You get there, but
right, you get there, except for having somebody there to tell you like, oh, do it this way, or at least just seeing the way somebody else works, can really just be like, oh, I never thought of that, and you know, something it might have been taking you like 6 steps to do, you can now do in like 2 steps, and that speeds up the whole process and makes everything better, you know.
Yeah. So speaking of production some more, when do you think, how long did it take you to produce stuff that you thought, this is something, I'm onto something here, this is good enough for releasing or playing, or around what time was it for you?
I don't really know, because I think I had so much sort of self-doubt, and I was so sort of afraid of everything else that was out there, because I just held it on this pedestal sort of, that I think it took me a really long time, even after people had told me like, no, this is good, like you should do something with this, I was sort of still really doubtful. I think I don't know. I think probably not until I started doing stuff with Josh and as Corrupt Souls, where I wasn't the only person, you know, responsible for the track, to where I finally like sort of could sigh and be like, all right, you know, this is pretty good. Because
so he gave you a lot of encouragement and said, you're really onto something. This is really good.
Yeah, well, it was more just the fact that like we were doing it together. Yeah. And because like it wasn't just my stuff, like
so it was new stuff that you were making.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was also just a good excuse, like to, I don't know, I just had some confidence issues, I guess, you know. And he's such a confident guy that like I didn't feel like the songs were crappy because we did them together, and if Josh helped me on them, then they can't be bad, you know.
Yeah, from meeting him, he can be a huge positive energy sort of field, sort of force that takes you somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really you know, lucky to have worked with him, and I think that, I mean, the way I think is just in really small micro sort of steps, and he's a really macro sort of person, like bigger steps. So I think it really went together well.
Yeah.
And it taught me to relax big time.
All right. So about your album, My Light Year.
Yeah.
Could you tell?
Our album.
Well, no, it's more yours. How did it come about? Did you have the idea when you started producing the first tracks, like, oh, this is going to be an album, or did that sort of happen along the way?
Probably after like the first two or three songs.
Like Space Cope, was that the first one that was finished?
Yeah, Space Cope was the first song, and I didn't even know what was going to happen to it. It was so sort of different than Corrupt Souls, you know, and it just didn't really fit anything else that Josh and I were doing, so I sort of felt like maybe it was like sort of a direction that I could take for something bigger, and I'd always wanted to do an album. I was just sort of scared of the commitment of it, because that's a lot of songs to work on, and it takes me a while to work on songs, so.
Well, it's a very intimidating thing to make so many tracks basically on your own.
Yeah, it was a huge, intimidating thing, and it turned into a big hill to climb, but I think it was all worth it, and I'm really happy that I did it, because I learned so much doing it.
So now that it's out and the CD is coming out, how do you feel about it? Are you happy about the whole experience? Are you happy with the reactions that you're getting? Because the reactions from people when you play the songs, and the online reactions, and people just obviously sending you stuff on MySpace, and how do you feel about that? Are you?
I feel really good, man.
So far, I haven't really seen anyone not liking it. You know, there's so many people enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. I think that's great, and I'm just really fortunate to just like have positive feedback, because you never really know. I mean, you make something in the studio and it's not really yours after that, you know, and it could either sort of, you know, be relegated to some sort of obscurity, or people will make some noise about it, you know? And I'm just happy that people are making some noise about it.
How do you see your own music? I mean, how do you see people listening to your music? Is it mainly for people dancing, or is it mainly for people driving or listening to at home, or on their cell phones, or do you have any picture when you make this stuff?
I just always think it's just really fascinating that people can listen to just sort of bizarre instrumental music, you know, like that I made, like, and dance to it, and like hear it in your cars and all those places that you mentioned. I just think it's cool that I live in a world that like bleeps and bloops and like electronic sounds can like actually, you know, move people, and people can actually like. Sometimes I look at the crowd when I'm DJing and I'm like, wow, people are really dancing to this stuff. I mean, this music is so crazy, but people still feel sort of what I felt making it. You know, it's just bizarre.
And about the production some more. Obviously, a lot of people have asked us what kind of studio you have, or what kind of software you use. I know from talking to you before that you're not just a software guy. You have a lot of hardware as well. Is there anything that you like in particular? Anything that you use on the album, like synthesizers or compressors or anything else?
It's the music on the album is all different. It's really sort of varied based on the song. But I guess the things that I used a lot, like for every song, are like, you know, Logic, the software. I use the Emu a lot. It's just a sampler that I've been using since, you know, I started making music.
And you still like it more than software samplers?
I'm just really comfortable with it, and it just to me it has a sound, and I have all my samples loaded up in there already, you know. And the sort of the way the filters work is it's just different than software. It's not like better or worse, but it's like more like if you're like a painter and you just have like a bunch of colors, you don't want to use the same color for everything, and all hardware and software has sort of its own sort of characteristics sonically, so it's cool to just make more of a collage out of them than just using like one specific thing all the time, I guess. I get bored too. I get really bored. so I like to just use a lot of different stuff because it's a challenge. You know?
Yeah. Well, you have to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Were all the tracks? Well, I know Magnet wasn't done in your studio, but the other tracks, were they all done in the same place, or?
No. They were done everywhere from like in my kitchen, you know, with headphones, to like in an office building, like in an office cubicle, like with some crappy little speakers, to like, you know, Rob Hicks's studio, to Holland, you know, to like my old studio, and then a new studio that we built. Just a lot of different places. I mean, and then towards the end, they were all sort of mixed in the same place.
Because there is a coherent sound.
That was just sort of, you know, working at them over and over again. The mixes, you know, even after the song would be done, it was still sort of in the mix phase for a while on a lot of the songs. So
right. So we also got some questions from Misha, who's not here right now, but he had like sensible questions and stupid questions. So obviously I'm gonna do some stupid questions.
All right.
Like, what's your favorite food?
Oh man, Rob Hicks's father, bless his soul, he's passed away, but he used to make the best macaroni and cheese, man.
Really?
It's just amazing.
That's your favorite food?
Yeah, Rob Hicks's dad's.
So the way he made it specifically.
Yeah, he made it like so that it was like crispy on top, you know, like sort of like a casserole kind of. Right. But it was real crispy on top with breaded, and then the cheese would melt right underneath there, and then there'd be like nice noodles under there. Oh,
sounds good.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, obviously you've traveled a little bit, DJing in other countries. Have you found anywhere that you were sort of better, that you felt more at home, or that you might want to live someday, or? Is there any places that you like more than others, basically?
Yeah, I mean, every place has like its own thing that's really cool about it, and its own like people and style and stuff. I had a really good time on the album sampler tour in Holland.
Yeah.
I guess it's because I was with you guys and it was just really comfortable. I really like. I've been to Russia a lot. Russia's crazy.
Yeah.
I really like how it's at your own risk, and it's just a lot less sort of policed than the United States is.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just like to keep traveling. I mean, I'd be happy just on sort of an endless tour, because then you change scenery all the time.
So every place brings you something else, basically.
Totally.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, different food, different way of life, things that you've never seen before, different attitudes and ideas that you've never sort of get from one place to the other.
Yeah.
And you meet new friends too. You make relationships with people. Like, I feel like if something happened where I had to like get out of town or something like that, or like leave the country, like I have places to go now, and I didn't feel like that before.
You would know people everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Looking to the future, do you see yourself as a drum and bass producer in 10 years, or do you have different plans? What do you have, like, any general plans for your future?
Well, I mean, I sort of look at it as like, it started out sort of, I put myself into this sort of drum and bass box, I felt like, just because that's what I really liked, and I really couldn't see outside of it, as far as I couldn't imagine making anything else, really. I mean, I've come from like making rock and like sort of live music and stuff, but sort of drum and bass was really my thing. But now I think it's more of I just make music, if it's going to be drum and bass, it's going to be drum and bass. If it's going to be like house or something abstract or maybe, something instrumental, that's what it's going to be.
But you definitely see yourself in music as a producer forever, basically, or
yeah, for the rest of my life.
Is there something else in your life that you want to get done in the future?
Well, I've really started getting into graphic design, and really started getting into like film, and like the possibility of maybe one day making like a movie that's good, something, editing a film or shooting a film or writing a script for a film or something like that. But that's in the future. But something to do with the arts and music and visuals, definitely. I mean, it's the only thing I can do without ever getting tired. I love it. So I just feel like that's what I was that's like the machine that I am. If like we're all programmed to do something, like I'm the, visual and music one. Model.
I'm happy that you found what you were supposed to be doing. And
me too. Let's hope it goes somewhere.
Well, it already has. My Light Year is just an amazing album, and really happy to release it. So again, thank you. We've said this before, obviously, but we're gonna end this. It's already been too long, so I'm gonna make a lot of cuts, I think. But
perfect.
Thanks for speaking to me at such early times in the morning. I mean, what time is it now? What, 10 o'clock or?
No, it's
actually
1.
lovely. Okay. Well, early for an artist like you. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, and good luck with waking up.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.